I want to share two stories with you guys today about two of my students and sort of the paths that they've went on, and I'll talk to you guys why afterwards. So one of my students came into the gym originally. He was from a traditional sort of Gracie style gym where they primarily wore the gi and they focused a lot on self-defense. And so when he came to the gym, he was like kind of afraid of no-gi, right? He felt like he's a smaller guy, and so he felt like no-gi was just a little bit too much for him. He felt like the athleticism was a bad thing for him, and just like, he didn't have the grips. And he had been sort of, out of his own words, he said he'd been brainwashed to believe that this is not correct jiu-jitsu or something. Like I don't know why, but that's out of his own words. That's what he said. So he came into the gym, and he's been with me for several years now, and it's funny because now he has made this. He's like kind of went off to a different path. He came up to me earlier this year and was like, can we talk? I was like, sure, man. Like, what's up? And I guess he was maybe a little worried, but he told me that he wanted to focus primarily on no-gi. Said that he's kind of taking a liking to the leg locks and kind of just the style of no-gi competition that he wants to get into, and was asking if I would basically be upset with him if he focused primarily on no-gi rather than gi. And being the instructor that I am, I was like, of course not, right? It's your decision, not mine, right? So if you want to go primarily no-gi, do it, man. Have fun with that. Again, he still trains gi here and there, but most of the time just no-gi. And then another one of my students came into the gym who, he's been here for about 6 months now. And when he came into the gym originally, he had found jiu-jitsu, he'd heard about it. He had done some striking martial arts, but he had heard through the Joe Rogan podcast. And he'd listened to some of the stuff that Eddie Bravo had said, and he'd kind of taken that information. And so when he came into the gym, I remember talking to him. It was on a Friday afternoon. He was like, dude, I want to train jiu-jitsu, but I don't want anything to do with the gi. He was very adamant about that. And so again, being the instructor that I am, I'm like, that's fine, man. It's all jiu-jitsu, so just train and see what you like. You do it. 6 months later, he loves the gi. He's like, he doesn't even come to the no-gi classes very often anymore because he says that he feels like the gi, he's an older fella, right? So he feels like having the gi allows him to slow the action down a little bit and get some grips. And he says that he finds it a lot more fun. He's just like, it's just different, it's enjoyable. He's like, he likes it a little bit more because he's here to train and stay in shape and, learn a new martial art and, for some self-defense purposes too. So excellent, cool. Doing your own thing. Now the reason that I bring this up is because I got a message from a guy who is getting interested in jiu-jitsu, right? He found my website, my YouTube channel, and he says, man, I'm really getting interested in jiu-jitsu, but should I train gi or no gi? Because, I'm hearing different things from different people. Like there's one way is the right way, one way is unrealistic, and, back and forth, everybody's pushing their agenda and they're drawing the line in the sand saying that, you guys are wrong and you guys are wrong and, whatever, all that stuff, right? And so my advice to you, if you're out there and you are trying to make this decision, whether or not you want to do gi or no gi, understand that that is your decision, not someone else's. So if you're hearing people that are out there on the internet saying things, or even your instructors, right, telling you, you've got to do it this way. This is the way to do it, right? This is the way, the only way, right? Jiu-jitsu is an art form. And ultimately, people interpret it a little bit differently. They go about, there's different paths you can go into this thing, right? There's not one way to do it. Right? You can do this for fitness. You can do this for self-defense. It can be a hobby. It can be a thing to meet new friends. There's so many things that jiu-jitsu can offer to people, and ultimately it's going to depend on what you want to get out of it. So when you hear people's beliefs that they're telling you, including my own, right? If I say something, again, take it with a grain of salt. But when you hear these things, car. Yep. All right. And when you hear these things, again, take everything with a grain of salt, including my own. When you hear these things, take that information in, let it simmer, digest it, see how it matches up with what you want out of this stuff, and then go that way. And again, that might not match up with what someone else thinks, but again, ultimately, jiu-jitsu, like your personal jiu-jitsu journey is yours and yours alone, not mine. It's not, someone else is on this side. It's not someone else is on that side. It's yours. And so ultimately, you got to figure out what is it that you want to get out of jiu-jitsu, and then just run with that. And I'll tell you from personal experience with me, I do jiu-jitsu. That's it. That's all I think about, right? Gi, no gi doesn't matter. Just let me train, right? Let me compete. Let me train. I just want to do it, right? I'm not like, restricted to like one style, right? I'll play around with anything. And there's been times in my training where I focused on the gi more. Maybe there's a gi tournament coming up or something. And then sometimes I don't even want to be in the gi. Like sometimes I want to focus all my hard training days on no gi because I'm just in the mood, right? So understand that your enthusiasm for both might fluctuate, and as it did for me, and it does for a lot of people, but just have fun with it. And ultimately, again, make your decision off of your own beliefs and your desires rather than the dogmas of other people. That's the advice that I would give you if you're out there trying to decide how you want to do jiu-jitsu, whether it's gi or no gi. I would invite you just to make the decision for yourself over time. If you're primarily a gi guy and you haven't done no gi, give no gi a shot. Give it a fair shake too. Don't just walk in there and be like, I hate this, right? Like really try to get into it, see if you like it. If you are a no gi guy, give the gi a chance. You don't know, you might like it. You know, you might hate yourself for it, right? Like, I don't want to get in the gi, but you might like it. You know, but again, give it a fair shake and just see what you like. That's it, guys. Cool. Sort of see how that's going to work for you, instead of just taking someone else's dogma and then just taking that wholesale and letting their beliefs dictate how you are going to train and, you know, experience jiu-jitsu, because you don't want to do that.